Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. Got an absolutely beautiful day going on here. Gotta love it. A day like this is a gift from God. It's a blessing all by itself. One should definitely go outside and play in the weather. I'm going to show you guys what I have, and I'm going to tell you what I think I'm going to do, and what I would like is some opinions. Okay, you guys know this bike. Some of you know this bike. It's a Lakota. It's a Kawasaki. I don't know. I think it's a 2000 vintage. It's known as a Lakota 300. I think it's a KEF 300. And I've mentioned before, there are two of these in the Hoard. One of them lives in Pennsylvania. My son bought this one in Pennsylvania as a knot runner, and the problem with it is it jumped time and it hit the intake valve. Well, I got the valve thing all sorted out, and to me, I wanted to fix why did it jump time. And when I took it apart, the timing chain was loose. And to be honest with you, I kind of screwed up because I didn't spend a lot of time sorting out why the timing chain was loose. In my mind, the timing chain was loose. I'm going to change it. It really doesn't matter why it's loose. I'm going to put a new one on the bike. And I'm going to... sorry about the wind. And that's the way I'm going to deal with the whole situation. If there's something wrong with the tensioner, I'm going to deal with that too. And why do I believe that? Obviously, if you're out riding and you jump time, you've just turned the motor, and you're racing about. You've just destroyed the motor, right? At the minimum, if it jumps time and you tap a valve, you got to take it apart and replace a valve. That's typically the minimum. At the maximum, if you're wound pretty tight, you jump time, right? Piston goes up, valves go down at the same time. You could destroy the head, right? Because the valves could screw up the valve guides, or do damage to the head, mechanical damage to the head when the top of the valve gets crushed into the head. You typically damage the piston. A lot of times you damage the bore. Sometimes you transmit a bunch of energy downward. You can actually destroy the crank, or you can actually put the piston down into the bottom of it and blow your case. I mean, generally, at the minimum, you tap a valve. At the maximum, you destroy the engine. So that's why I was thinking of going the extreme case. This machine is basically an $800 machine. I've seen them in this condition. Depending, if you buy it early in the year, you might get it for $600-700. If you clean it up and it runs really nice and it's pretty, you got the key for it and everything else, you might get as much as $1,000. But let's call it an $800 machine. So I'm sitting on an $800 machine here. And I kind of want this machine to run. I like this machine. It's got a recoil starter. It's got electric start. It's got reverse. It's got racks. It's a nice machine. The only thing wrong with it is two things. First of all, it doesn't say Honda on it. And secondly, it's a bit heavy. But given that it's got reverse, I'll deal with that. So, I go to take apart the side of the engine, so I can change the timing chain, and I run into this problem. This bolt will not come out. And this bolt is known as a 1040. And I worked at it, and I sprayed it, and I worked at it, and somebody must have put something on here, some don't remove this bolt gel, thread lock, or I don't know, whatever. But this bolt is not coming out. And by the way, I hit it with, the little guy. And then I hit it with the big guy, right? And this bolt says, homie, I ain't playing with you. I'm not coming out. So, now the quandary. There are two ways of going forward with this. If I can't take it apart without breaking things, and some of you guys might have suggestions. I already hit it with PB Blaster, let it soak overnight and tried it again, and it told me to bark at the moon. It's just not coming apart. Somebody must have put thread lock on it or something, because it's not coming apart. So getting that bolt out is looking more and more distant, and once again, I'm sitting on like a $800 bike here, so I don't want to like screw the motor up and then you know, I already got, let's say I got like 300 invested in this thing so far, so I do have some headroom, but I'd rather not have $800 invested in an $800 bike. I'd rather have some money for me to play with other stuff. So I'm afraid I'm going to break that bolt off, and then I'm going to have trouble. I've hit it with as much as I can hit it with, and you know, we're talking, I don't know, what's that, a couple of feet long. I've hit it with about all I can hit it with, and it's not coming out. So I can either smash it back together again with the original timing chain, or if there are some folks out there who watch, used to watch, his name was David Stone. Actually, it probably still is David Stone. I haven't heard that he passed. And he had a channel, David's Farm or David Stone's Farm. It's kind of been born and reborn under a few different names. He got thrown off of YouTube because it was alleged that he was involved with child porn. I guess they found child porn on his computers and all. There are some of his videos still out there. Other people have published them. The guy was a mechanical genius, but about his personal life, you know, so some people very strong in some areas and not so good in others. Allegedly, let's go with it that way. I didn't go on trial with him, so let's stick with allegedly, right? But what he did is he actually took the timing chain and he ground one of these pins down a little bit, and he pried that up and out of the way. He didn't take it off completely. He didn't take it off of both, but he picked it up and out of the way. He took the chain apart, and he took that chain apart, and then he very gently, or he wired them together, and then fed the new chain, attached the old chain around. He brought it completely around. He then, you know, slid the link back into place and put it back down and put a tiny little MIG weld right there. And that's the way he got around it. When I had seen his video a while ago, and I remembered that he took it apart, and that I didn't like so much. But given the fact that he just slid it over a little bit and slid it back and put a little weld on it, I'm thinking what he did will probably work. And by the way, he did that with an older XR100. I think it was a 78, but don't quote me on the year of the XR100. So that's one thing I could do. The other thing I could do, I spent quite a bit of time measuring this chain, and I measured 8 links on this chain. And then I measured 8 links on this chain, and I found a 2 millimeter difference in 8 links. And given that there's approximately 5 times that, we're looking at about 10 millimeters, which is, you know, from there to there, right? which is about one link. So this is the adjuster. I was considering perhaps smashing the whole thing together again on the timing chain that's in there, not cutting or pasting or any of that other crap, and seeing what it looks like, seeing if it's tight enough. And the reason why I'm making this video is I'm looking for suggestions, and I'm looking for one of three suggestions. I really, about getting this bolt out, I'd really rather not put heat on this bolt. This is obviously aluminum. You got a seal in here. The electronics are on this side of the motor. So I'd really rather not, put my torch to this bolt. So let me say that first of all. So I'm really not thinking this bolt comes out. I'm open to suggestions about how to get it out, but I'm not thinking this bolt's coming out. So that leaves me one of two choices with this timing chain. Either I stick with what I got, and I guess I can smash it together. That's the minimum invasive way of dealing with it. If I smash it together, I'm basically talking my plans out loud, and let's see what you guys have to think. If I smash it together, and I noticed that it's too loose, then I guess I could take apart what I need to take apart and do the old feed the chain in game. So I could do that, or I could be a little more aggressive and I could grind the link and put the chain in. But obviously if I drop it in there or any of those other things, I'm kind of dancing in an ugly spot. Anyway, if you guys could take a moment and let me know what you think, particularly some of you guys really put a lot of time in on these motors. I've done timing chain, but I've done them the old-fashioned way, where you take everything apart. This is the first bolt that I've really, the first crank bolt that's really told me to go bark at the moon, especially when I've hit it with air tools. I mean, this thing is supposed to be good for 250, but it's not letting me take it apart. So let me know what you guys think. Basically, the difference in length between that chain, the one that jumped, and this one is about a link. One link out of 45. Well, let's call it a half link, because you kind of have the center link and then the other link. It's like a half link. It's like from pin to pin or hole to hole longer. One of those links longer. So I guess it would be called it's probably known as a half link length, but you would call it a chain link. And whether you're talking the pivot chain link or the bearing chain link, right? So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and please get out there and enjoy all your days. Bye now, folks.